The coalition fighting ISIL believes it can reverse the group's gains in 2016. ISIL began taking control of more areas in Iraq and Syria in early 2015, but towards the end of the year, the group faced major losses. Osama bin Javed looks at what's happened and what might happen next in the fight against ISIL.
It's a victory that Iraqis describe as a major blow to the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. Recapturing Ramadi has boosted the Iraqi army from a force that fled when it faced ISIL to a military that can recapture areas with the help of coalition strikes and Sunni tribesmen. ISIL was also pushed back from central Beji, an oil town, and from Tikrit too, but these achievements came with the help of Shia militias or popular mobilization forces. The armed groups are backed by the Iraqi government and Iran. They've been criticized by rights group and Sunni tribesmen for their tactics after taking areas from ISIL. Further north, much of the town of Sinjar is now with the Kurdish Peshmerga forces. Retaking Sinjar in November severed a key ISIL supply line and smuggling route. These successes have made Iraq's leadership confident that its forces can take on the group.
2016 will be the year of the big and final victory, when ISIL's presence in Iraq will be terminated.
2015 began with ISIL taking more areas in Iraq and Syria. Despite the fact that the group has lost control over many places, it still remains active around those areas that it's lost control of. The coalition against ISIL says that its strategy to target the group's leadership is working in Iraq, but with limited intelligence coming out of Syria, same results have not been achieved there. The group lost large swathes near the border with Turkey to Syrian Kurdish fighters, and some areas in Aleppo to Syrian opposition groups. But ISIL advances in Palmyra, Homs, and near the capital Damascus continued through the year. There are now more than 60 countries fighting ISIL in various coalitions. Despite facing a common enemy, many of them have competing interests. The coalition against ISIL wants to go after strongholds like Raqqa in Syria and Mosul in Iraq. Not just to defeat the group that's claimed one of the most brazen attacks on European soil since World War II, but also to solve an unprecedented refugee crisis which has forced millions from their homes. Tougher border controls and an international crackdown have dealt a blow to ISIL's propaganda and recruitment. The group has been pushed back, but defeating it remains a major challenge. Osama bin Javed, AlJazeera, on the Erbil-Mosul border.
Ismael Alsodani is a retired brigadier general in the Iraqi army, joining us now from Washington. Ismael Alsodani, Mosul must, by definition, not least because of the weather, be 6 to 9 months away. So between now and then, for the Iraqi military, what do they see as their potential #1 priority?
Well, I think one of the most priority to the Iraqi security forces now to focus on retaking Fallujah and some of the other cities and towns to the west of Ramadi, like Heat, Ana, Rawa, Haditha, all the way to Al-Qa'im, which lays on the border with Syria. This should be focused at the beginning of 2016 until the first quarter. And then simultaneously, of course, with the coordination of the coalition led by U.S., supported by air and logistics, intelligence and training and so on, Iraqi security forces should press and retake the towns around Mosul in order to prepare the theater, the operation theater around Mosul to take on ISIS in Mosul. This is the priorities, I believe, and I think it is very challenging for Iraqi government to address some challenges in front of the government itself, like some regional dispute about which of the forces that should be taking part in this operation to retake Mosul from ISIS. Of course, U.S. has raised some concerns about using the popular mobilization forces, which mainly formed from the Shia fighters, to fight in pure Sunni areas like Mosul.
Okay. We have Turkish incursions into northern Iraq. Baghdad doesn't like that. We have ongoing, almost permanent de facto disputes within the Sunni bloc as well. So how does the Iraqi government and the Iraqi military stay focused on its military plans whilst working in tandem with the US-led coalition, whilst simultaneously making sure that those big diplomatic issues don't detonate as well?
Well, as I said, this is a huge challenge and tremendous challenges in front of Iraqi government that should tackled before they start the operation, because these disputes would divert the focus from fighting ISIS to engage in a different political issues with Turkey, which I believe they would like to take part in this game by incursion in the northern part of Iraq with combat troops in Bashiqa camp. This is a huge challenge, and I believe that the Iraqi government has a lots of diplomatic efforts to address this issue. Of course, the United States should take part and role crucially to address this issue, because U.S.-led coalition is taking the lead in these operation, and I believe that the strategy that is followed by U.S.-led coalition and Ramadi was the real ground test for this strategy will go forward to make the success of retaking Mosul. This is, no one can predict what will happen in the future, since the dramatic issues are dramatically taking place from time to time. Of course, the situation in Syria is also related to the situation in Mosul and the operation success in Mosul as well.
Ismael Alsodani, thank you. Israel has